Welcome back. Well, now that I've got my workshop completely signed off, I thought I'd do a summary and talk a little bit about being an owner builder. And if you look back on my project, there was a whole heap of pre-work, and it starts with planning, obviously. And in this case, I had to rebuild the main entrance driveway, and all of these things had to be done before I could start the build of the workshop. And you can see here the weather. It was actually in the winter as well, about this time of the year in Australia, and it was just a total mess. I had to get heavy concrete trucks up here. They weigh about 30 tons each, and before I did this job, it was just too dangerous. So I widened it from 2.5 meters to nearly 6, and you can see the retaining wall there, and that just fixed a key problem that I had to sort out before I could start building. I had to knock some trees down, and I had a whole heap of trenching I needed to do. This is a 10-acre property, and I would have trenched at least 400 to 500 meters, I would say. So there's a lot that goes into being an owner builder, and one of the key things, I think there's 3 key things you need to be successful. One is time. You need lots of time. Even if you're going to subcontract things out, you need to be available on your site, and you need to provide direction, because ultimately as an owner builder you're managing the project. The other thing you need is knowledge. And you don't necessarily need to know how to do it, but yeah, you need to know what needs to be done so you can coordinate your labour properly if you're going to use others to do it. And the other thing you need is funding. If you don't have funding, it's going to be very difficult, because thinking about funding after is probably a mistake, because getting approvals for funding as an owner builder is a little bit more complex. Now, if you're going to build a smaller building like a garden shed, maybe a small shed or workshop or something in a kit form, I would say go for it as an owner builder, because in Australia those sort of things are classed as a 10A building, which you get approval but there's no inspections, there's no real sign off to it. So I would say go for it. If you're going to build a home or a commercial building like this, which is a class 7 or 8 workshop or farm building, there's a lot more to it. And one of the things that you need to then decide is, what level of owner builder do you want to be? Do you want to just coordinate the labour, or do you want to do what I did, which was pretty much cut all labour out and do everything as much as you can yourself? So in my case, I did absolutely everything with some help from my wife and some others, but largely by myself. And the only thing I didn't do was pour the concrete. The value you get from being a owner builder where you do most work yourself is you save heaps of money, and you have heaps of control, and you get it just the way you want it. Now, obviously there are a couple of things in Australia at least that you can't do, and that is electrical and plumbing, but everything else, if you've got the knowledge and you build to the standard, you are allowed to do. One thing I would say is, particularly for people in Australia, because I don't know the rules internationally, is at the end, if it's a commercial building or a home, there is a document called a statement of compliance, and that's something that you should think about before you get to the end, because that needs to be signed off from a registered builder, and if you haven't prepared yourself, that could become a bit of a hassle if you're an owner builder. Other than that, I would do this all over again. And I know it's taken a long time, but for me, this is part of the journey. I've actually really enjoyed this, and I've been able to put a level of detail that would otherwise be just so costly to get others to do. I'm interested in what other owner builders' viewpoints are. Maybe it's like this, or maybe it's not. But I would say the only other thing, if you're going to be a true owner builder and do things yourself, is you need what I would call grit. And now I don't know if that's an international term or not, but when I say grit, I mean perseverance, passion, and just drive. And ultimately you need to focus on the end goal, because there's going to be hurdles, and the hurdles could be something goes wrong, it could be bad weather, it could be struggling to get materials, it could be lots of things. There is no way you're going to build a large building or a home without any problems whatsoever. So you do need a lot of grit and perseverance to get through it. I'm really happy with the way this building has turned out. Now, one of the things I did spend a lot of time to make sure everything was square, and it does take longer, but I've got to say, I think if you do that, you'll save multiple of times back when you go to put sheet metal up and things like that, because if it's not square, putting your cladding on, it just becomes a nightmare. And looking back on this, it's just a huge job. This building is about 270 square meters, roughly, and there's just so much work that goes into it. I'm not sure how my videos have come across, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to post this one, is because it's not easy. And I'm not saying people shouldn't be an owner builder, but you need to do your research. And you have to understand that in my particular case, I did start my career as a tradesman. I was a project manager for a long time. I knew a lot about the process, so it really did help me to be able to use the skill sets I already had. Now, the other thing, if you're going to do like I did, is you need the right tools. And I bought some heavy equipment, so like my excavator, I bought a scissor lift, I have concrete mixers, I have drop saws, I have all sorts of things, that laser levels, and they pay for themselves in multiple times. So don't try to do something this big without the right tools if you do choose to do more of it yourself. The effort is worth it, but be prepared, it's going to take time. This has taken about 18 months from when I first started drilling the piers to getting the exterior completely done and having the building formally signed off. If you want something built really quickly, then I'd suggest just going through a contractor and paying a group of people to do it. Now, I think in this day and age, the problem too as an owner builder, if you're going to use trades, is unless you have contacts, it's going to be hard. You're not going to really know who's good and who isn't, and the good trades are sought after these days. So I might be wrong, but I feel that there's a lot of cases where trades charge top dollar and they don't do a top job. And for me, there's attention to detail is very important, and the detail you would have seen in my videos does take extra time, there's no doubt about it. I would say the detail of trimming, getting everything square, all that sort of thing, would probably add 30 to 50% extra time. But having said that, I think it's worth it. It really depends what you want. For me, I've built a workshop before. I've done a couple of projects around home. I've done a lot of projects in the industry. This was a mega build for me. The biggest project by far I've ever tackled, and I only wanted to do it once, and I wanted to do it right. I want to enjoy this space, so that's why I've gone to the hassle of getting it exactly right and what I'm happy with. As soon as I had the roof on, I fitted the solar system, and being literally off grid, it was important to get this set up pretty quickly. And you would have seen in earlier videos, I actually installed a very large rainwater harvesting system because we don't have any mains water on this property, and I ended up fitting a 185,000 litre rainwater tank, and you can see those in earlier videos. Now, I wanted to build this in an industrial sort of look. I don't know what it's called. I think it's rustic industrial or modern industrial, I'm not sure. But I went to a lot of extra effort with these hardwood soffits, lighting around the soffits, and the extra trims, because we have a lot of vermin, not just here but all around Australia. And I've had sheds before where if you got gaps around your corrugated iron, not only you let the cold in, you let the heat in, you let the bugs in, you let the vermin in as well. So I've sealed this up really tight. It's going to be very difficult for vermin to get in. Certainly I don't think a snake will fit in. I don't think a rat or a mouse would fit in, but maybe bees or wasps is another problem we have. They might get in, who knows. It's very tight. The other thing, I went the extra yards and I fitted double glazed windows. I've insulated so far with a methylene, which is a 7mm foam padding all around the building, the roof and the walls, and I do plan to further insulate the roof with R4 earth wool insulation. So once I'm done, I want this to be very comfortable, because over the years I've worked outside, I've laid under cars on the roads like lots of people do, and I just don't want to do that anymore. So I just want to start to have a building that works for me. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this journey. It's nearly done. From here I'm going to start some projects again, and I'll probably post just short videos of what I'm up to with the interior of this building as time goes on. Any comments, put them down in the comments section. I'll be interested in other views. If you've got any questions about this particular build, let me know and I'll try to answer them as best I can. Also, if you've liked what you're seeing, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now from here, I'm going to start the interior. I'm going to do a very unique floor finish in my office, so stay tuned for that one. But as I said, I'll be starting on some new projects and finishing some outstanding projects very soon. I'm looking forward to using this space, and the only other thing I'd say about this building is it really has been a dream of mine, and that's why I've called it Building the Dream. If you're in the same boat, don't give up on your dreams. Remember grit, be passionate, and sometimes you just got to work really hard to get what you want. And as I said earlier, I would do this all over again. Whilst it's taken time, it's been so worth it, and finally I will get to enjoy the rewards of all this hard work. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. More projects will be coming soon, and as I said, don't forget, any questions, let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.